This is a report that gets 0. I cannot give it any more than that. And this is the point where we have to talk about EY and Atkins Realis. We have to talk about these two and why this might have happened, why we've got to the point where this sort of stuff happens. And why have I put up EY and Atkins Realis? Because on one side you have look down and see what my face is doing in the bottom corner. Hello, it's still me in the bottom corner. On the one hand, you have what I call the pure consultants, the EYs of the world. They're people whose job title is consultant. They are generally not the people you should have writing reports about public transport, because they don't understand the things that engineers know that allow you to do clever stuff to make an option feasible. They often also don't really do a very good job of articulating the benefits. They can write very generic business case stuff, but they don't really understand what a railway is for, how it fits into the fabric of how railways actually function, things, operational timetables and such. So I don't think that pure consultants are the right people to be writing these reports. On the other hand, you have organizations like Atkins Realis. I would describe them, although this is actually within the organization. When I was at Atkins, it gobbled up. Wait a minute, let me check which one it gobbled up. E.C. Harris was Arcadis. Who was the one that Atkins gobbled up when I was there? Oh, anyway, there was a big pure consultancy that Atkins gobbled up, subsumed, and merges this way, that way. The effect has been to water down what I call applied consultancy. Now, applied consultancy, people who are applied consultants have job titles like engineer, senior engineer, things of this nature. They actually have skills and knowledge. And the trouble is that the Atkins Realises of the world have been getting converted fairly rapidly by acquisition and by bad management and by the way of the neoliberal world into the pure consultants. They're a waste of time. Now, you might be going, yeah, but this was written by an engineer, and therefore the opposite is true of what you're saying. Well, yes and no, because the enshittification of applied consultancy, of engineering consultancy, has also stifled, in the process of engineering consultancy, has also stifled the ability of engineers to remember what they're for. In actually, they should be understanding and defining what those benefits are. As an engineer, trained as an engineer, I'm capable of writing a report that looks at those options, that considers what are the social benefits and impacts and potential downsides socially of this new railway system, this new transport corridor along here, and what might that look like, and why are we choosing a railway over other options? What could we be doing in the meantime? Things, questions like this. Really critically and fundamentally, engineers must relearn their role in society. This is a big problem with engineering consultancies. It was a problem, I'm seeing it get worse and worse through the years that I've been in engineering consultancy. Is the watering down of engineering skills is certainly also happening. Lots of nonsense, lots of disconnect. There's all the ethical issues with engineers currently just not thinking about what they do stupid things like generative AI and incorporating things of this nature. But fundamentally, that lack of ethical knowledge, take that again. Fundamentally, that lack of ethical knowledge, combined with the lack of understanding why we do the things we do in the first place. Why are we building railways? Why are we doing this? What's it for? Who's it benefiting? How can I show and sell the purpose of this railway? A thing that engineers used to have to do back 150 years ago. Why am I doing this? Engaging with local stakeholders, understanding what they need, shaping any proposals to ensure that they get what they need, along with the strategic overall benefits. Actually, the Stevensons of the world, back in the 1830s, 1820s even, but certainly 1830s, understood that you had to paint the local and national picture. You had to understand the national picture as you start from the point of 1830 onwards, in fact, once you started having modern railways as we understand them developing. And the understanding of that point of the fact that the railways are a system of systems, engineers were doing this, and now we have much more knowledge. We have much greater understanding of mobility in totality and how we implement solutions to maximize people's mobility whilst minimizing environmental and carbon impact, and making sure it gets delivered reasonably efficiently and quickly and cost effectively, and that we prioritize things right. Those are all things engineers should know. And actually, one of the challenges of engineers going, here's my job code, I'm going to do the little siloed thing I'm thinking about, and not particularly goes to my discipline, actually, because track engineers are often the ones who stitch all this stuff together and end up doing the early stage stuff. In this case, it was a civil engineer, but track engineers often end up doing this too. You should understand all this stuff. And if you don't, then that's fine, but you're limiting what you should absolutely, therefore, not be at the helm of a report like this. Folks, yeah, It's not good. It is not good. So, Hystronaut, could you go through one of your reports, or another good one, to describe what makes a good report and what things to avoid? Well, you can go back to the Borders Railway episode. What was that, 214, was it? Where we go through, I think, the report that I did. I can't remember exactly how much detail, but we do that. Thanks, Hystronaut. Howard Meow, have we heard that Paris is getting its own Dangleway version of London Dangleway line cable car instead of a metro extension later this year? No, I haven't. That's very depressing. Detour is saying, just think how much worse these reports are going to get with ChatGPT. Yeah. Crikey. I mean, I would be putting a more... If I was any client organization, I would be ensuring that within my contracts, I say that any evidence of the use of generative large language models, generative AI, will preclude payment. That means, this report is out of scope, it's non-compliant, we will not pay you for it. ChatGPT should not be used for anything to do with these reports. Anything, whether it's Excel wrangling, whether it's creating fluff. If any text is going to a report like this that's generated by ChatGPT, that text should not be in the report. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter whether it's detailed, technical, safety, critical engineering, or whether it's feasibility that's defining whether politicians go for a mobility project, a transport project like this. ChatGPT stuff should be nowhere near any of this, because ChatGPT spits out junk.